My whole life I've been really involved in church service. I was an early morning seminary teacher for many years, and I was involved in the Relief Society in the ward level and the stake level and young women. And I was so busy doing that, and then we were away from home doing church service. And then we got back home, and I felt like I didn't have anything really important to do. When we were introduced to the Wilford Woodruff Project, all of a sudden I have something that's really meaningful that I love. I do other volunteer work, but this is my favorite. But because I'm learning so much. I learned so much about the temple and about missionary work. Wilford was an incredible missionary. My husband and I presided over the Boston Temple several years ago, and one of our friends gave us the book, Jennifer's book on the development of the gospel or temple doctrine, and it was quite amazing. That book would sit on my husband's desk, and when he wasn't interviewing or busy, he'd be reading that book. And when he wasn't in there, I would, and I had some free time, I would snatch that book and I would go into my office and I would read her book. And it was funny because my two counselors and his counselors got involved with that book also. So if Steve wasn't reading it or I wasn't reading it, they would take it and they would into their offices and they would read it. So after a few months, Steve bought 5 more copies, and we each got a copy of Jennifer's book. And just reading her book, I was so impressed with Wilford Woodruff, and I loved it so much that was really the beginning of our involvement in the Wilford Woodruff Papers Project.
I got involved because Mom asked for help. My mom is Christy. She's the secretary for the board. She works really hard. I got a call one day that they needed some sort of last-minute video editing help, and I had some free time while I was in school, and I just hopped on, and then they just kept asking for more help. And I think one of the best ways to show someone you love them is to be involved in what they're involved in. I know that Wilford Woodruff was an amazing church leader and a prophet, and he did so much great religious work, but really I think the most inspiring thing for me is that we just know so much about his hobbies, and I think it really makes him feel like a person rather than this sort of almost mythical being for as great as he was. It's just really fun to be reading through his stuff and suddenly you see, oh, he was a fly fisherman. He was like really good at this in addition to all of his great religious work.
That's why I love this project so much. My husband is involved in fundraising, and so he's very involved and spends a lot of time. And my daughter, Christy, her mom, is the executive secretary and spends lots and lots of time, doesn't she? Mm-hmm. And then to have this darling granddaughter so involved and doing different things, because she's so creative and artistic that she's doing things that, that the rest of us don't know how to do. But it's really meaningful to be able to do this together as a family. It's a family project for us.
I think this conference is the first time that really all three of us have worked on it together, because it's been 2 at a time all over the place. Families don't always work really well together, but conveniently the 3 of us, we work really well together, and we have a lot of the same mindset and process thinking, and so it works.